Every single week I watch people lose jobs they spent years building. Not because they screwed up, not because they underperformed, because of 4 sentences they said out loud at work. Sentences that felt honest, sentences that felt fair, sentences that sounded like something any rational adult would say, and yet those exact words became the evidence their employer used to walk them out the door. My name is Sam, and today I'm walking you through the 4 phrases that quietly destroy careers, why each one backfires, and the smarter way to handle the moment that tempts you to say them. By the end of this, you'll see the workplace the way HR professionals and employment lawyers actually see it. If you've ever trusted your manager with something personal and regretted it, if you've been honest about your workload and watched it blow up in your face, if you want to understand the invisible rules that govern whether you keep your job, stay with me. Subscribe if you want workplace strategy based on how the system actually operates, not how it should operate. Drop a like if you've already said one of these and felt the consequences. Quick note before we start, I'm not your attorney, and this isn't legal advice. This is pattern recognition based on what I've seen repeatedly in the working world. Every situation has specifics. If something serious is happening at your job, talk to an employment lawyer in your state who can look at your details. Let's start with phrase number 1, and this one feels like the most reasonable boundary you could possibly set. Phrase 1. That's not in my job description. It feels like the ultimate professional response, doesn't it? You reviewed your job description when you signed on, you know what you were hired for, and now your manager is asking you to handle something completely outside your role. So you push back, you draw the line, you reference the document. Here's the problem. In most of the United States, your job description is not a contract. It's a summary. It's marketing copy. It can be rewritten the same day it was printed. Under at-will employment, which governs almost every private sector worker in this country, your employer can expand, shrink, or completely redefine your responsibilities at any moment for any reason that's not explicitly illegal. Pattern. Interrupt. Show at-will employment definition. Employer can change job duties at any time. Employee refusal documented as insubordination. Here's what actually happens when you say that phrase. You think you're drawing a reasonable boundary. Your manager hears insubordination, and insubordination is the magic word in corporate documentation. It's the first brick in a termination wall. Every HR investigation, every exit packet, every unemployment hearing revolves around whether the company can demonstrate a pattern of the employee refusing assigned duties. You just gave them sentence 1 of that paper trail. Now, if the task you're being asked to do is actually illegal, that's a completely different situation. If you're being told to falsify records, work unpaid hours, hide workplace injuries, or cover up harassment, you should refuse, and you should document that refusal in writing via email so there's a time-stamped record. Those refusals are protected under whistleblower and labor laws. But for everything else, the professional move is not to refuse. The professional move is to redirect. Try this instead. Say, I'm happy to take that on. Which of my current priorities would you like me to deprioritize to make space for this? That single sentence transforms the dynamic. You just turned confrontation into a conversation about resource allocation, and you quietly put the decision about your workload back on the person assigning it. Let's move to phrase number 2. And this one breaks my heart, because I watch good people walk into this trap constantly. Phrase 2. Can we talk off the record? There is no off the record at work. Let me say that again, so it lands. There is no off the record at work. When you pull an HR representative into a conference room and whisper something in confidence, you're speaking to an employee of the company whose entire function is protecting the company from legal liability. HR is not your therapist. HR is not your ally. HR is a department whose paycheck comes from the same people you might be complaining about. What typically happens is this. You share something sensitive, maybe about a manager, maybe about a coworker, maybe about something you witnessed. Within 24 to 72 hours, the person you mentioned knows, sometimes word for word. And there's a reason. The moment you raise a concern that could expose the company to litigation, HR often has a legal obligation to investigate. Investigation means interviews. Interviews mean the accused person gets questioned, and when they get questioned, they learn what was said about them. Your confidential conversation just became a company-wide disclosure. Pattern interrupt. Show information flow. Employee speaks to HR confidentially. HR legally obligated to investigate. Accused person learns of complaint. Confidentiality destroyed. The correct way to handle this, if you genuinely need to report something serious, is to do it in writing and make sure the subject is something legally protected. Discrimination based on race, gender, age, disability, religion, national origin, illegal conduct like wage theft, retaliation, safety violations. Written complaints about protected issues create legal protection for you. Verbal complaints about interpersonal dynamics create ammunition against you. Know the difference before you open your mouth. Phrase number 3 might be the fastest career destroyer on this entire list. Phrase 3, I'm interviewing elsewhere. The second that sentence reaches your manager's ears, whether in an email or casual hallway conversation, a silent switch flips. You stop being an employee. You start being a liability. Your manager is no longer thinking about your development plan, your next project, or your potential promotion. They're thinking about protecting the team from your departure and replacing you on their timeline instead of yours. I've watched this unfold repeatedly. An employee thinks they're being mature and transparent by giving their manager advance notice about a job search. Within a week, their key accounts get quietly reassigned. Their access to sensitive systems gets reduced. Their performance reviews, which were solid 6 months ago, suddenly include language like disengaged and not aligned with team objectives. When the layoff list gets assembled, or when the convenient restructuring happens, guess whose name appears? At-will employment means they don't owe you a notice period. They don't owe you the chance to finish your search on your terms. They can terminate you the same afternoon you told them. And in industries handling sensitive data, they frequently do, escorting people out within the hour to protect client information. So here's the rule. Your job search is yours alone until you have a signed offer letter in hand, background check cleared, and start date close enough that you're prepared to exit if things go sideways. And by the way, you're not legally required to give 2 weeks notice in an at-will state. It's custom, not law. Whether you should give notice depends entirely on your specific circumstances. Phrase 4 is the one that catches the most well-intentioned people off guard because it sounds human, vulnerable, honest. Phrase 4. I've got a lot going on in my personal life right now. Maybe you said it to explain why you were late. Maybe you said it to request flexibility. Maybe you said it because you trusted your manager and wanted them to understand your headspace. Here's the hard truth. Vague personal disclosures are one of the most dangerous things you can share at work because they give your employer a pre-built narrative about your reliability that they can deploy at any future moment. Here's how it unfolds. You mention personal stuff in March. In June, you miss a deadline. Suddenly, your manager remembers the personal disclosure. And a single missed deadline becomes a pattern of distraction we've been monitoring. In September, when budget gets tight and leadership asks managers to identify underperformers, your name surfaces, not because you're bad at your job, but because your manager has a paper trail of concerns that started with you volunteering information about your personal life. Pattern interrupt. Show timeline. Employee discloses personal issue. Months later, normal mistake occurs. Manager connects mistake to earlier disclosure. Pattern documented. Employee flagged. The brain does something sneaky here. Once your manager knows you have something going on, every normal human mistake you make gets filtered through that lens. You're not tired because everyone's tired. You're tired because of the personal thing. You're not quiet in a meeting because the topic wasn't your domain. You're quiet because you're distracted. The narrative writes itself, and you handed them the opening chapter. Now, if you're dealing with something legitimately serious, a medical diagnosis, caregiving crisis, mental health situation requiring time off, there are laws specifically designed to protect you. Family and Medical Leave Act covers qualifying employees at qualifying employers for up to 12 weeks of job-protected leave. Americans with Disabilities Act requires reasonable accommodations for qualifying conditions. Most states have additional protections that go further than federal law. Use those frameworks. Make a formal, specific request tied to a protected category. What you want to avoid is the vague, conversational, trust me I'm human version of disclosure. Keep your personal life personal, and when you need protection, request it by its legal name. Let's pull this together, because the pattern across all 4 phrases is identical. Everyone feels reasonable. Everyone feels like something a normal, honest professional would say. And everyone quietly transfers power from you to your employer without you realizing the exchange happened. The fix is not to become cold or paranoid or fake. The fix is recognizing work is a structured relationship with specific incentives, and to communicate in ways that protect you inside that structure. Don't refuse work. Renegotiate priorities. Don't complain off the record. Complain in writing about legally protected conduct through proper channels. Don't announce your job search. Keep it silent until the offer is signed and start date is real. Don't narrate your personal life. If you need protection, request it formally under the law that covers it. One more thing I want you to internalize. You are not your employer's family. You're not their friend. You're a professional in a business relationship. And business relationships run on documentation, incentive, and self-interest. That's not cynicism. That's clarity. And clarity is what keeps your job, your reputation, and your leverage intact. If any of this hit close to home and you're wondering whether your employer is already quietly building a case against you, I've got another video breaking down the exact warning signs termination is coming. Watch that next. If this gave you something useful, subscribe so more content like this can reach workers who need it. Every video I make is aimed at giving regular people the same strategic awareness the people across the table already have. I'll see you in the next one.